Hi guys, I'm Mo and you're watching Bobby Me.
I've been practicing to pronounce your stage name. Mo? Mo, is it correct?
I mean, yes, it's correct. I mean, in Danish we say mø.
Mo.
Yeah, but I mean, no, I mean, honestly, it's only Danes who can say it, right? So like Mo or mø, like, you decide.
Does it mean anything specific, or are those initials or something?
It's initials, but it also, mø is like kind of like an old Nordic language, means to be like a young girl, you know.
Okay.
So yeah.
Probably when you chose that stage name, it was a while back, so that was kind of something you identified with, or did you like had a lot of thought about your stage name? Because sometimes when bands establish or artists they need the stage name, it can be like tough.
Yeah. I mean, I remember thinking about it for a long time, but I think I was very, and still am, like very inspired by just youth culture and how the youth is always like kind of a movement. And also how the whole thing about being young, because at the time that I chose this name, I was already 19, so I wasn't like a young girl. But that thing about, as an artist, keeping yourself playful in your creativity and being young at heart, So I had a lot of thought about it. And I thought it made sense, because I am very naive and very, I guess, young in my mind. And I think I will probably always be, even when I'm 70. So
You have been in music industry for quite some time now, and was it something you always wanted to do? How did you find your way into it?
yeah, it was something I always wanted to do, die hard. Like ever since I was like 7 or 8 years old, it was my biggest dream was to be a musician. And I don't really know why, to be honest. I was such a big fan of Spice Girls, and I was kind of like just so, but I think that was my first kind of like introduction to pop culture and like that whole thing. And then I started playing the piano. There's no musicians in my family or anything, so I kind of just started from scratch. And I learned that I was actually, good at it, and it made me feel good to make music. And I wasn't really good in school. Yeah. So I think from that moment almost just like, great, then this is what I'm going to die hard go for,
So looking back at the beginning of your career and now, what has changed with you as a person and the way you create music and perceive music?
I think I'm better. Like, I think in the beginning, everything obviously was so new and it was a dream coming true. Just even in the very early days, that any magazine would just write like 2 lines about me, would just be like, yeah, And I mean, I'm still really, not that that's not important anymore, but more like, I think I was just kind of like, it was all so new. So I was like, kind of just saying yes to everything and very naive about like everything, I think. Where I think I'm now like a little bit better at being like, yes, no. Maybe just a little bit better at like, structuring my attention or something, I guess you can say. And I think in terms of writing music, I mean, I hope that I've learned something over the years, but honestly, I'm not the one to say, because I still feel like I write from the same place, like a kind of very personal space, but I hope I'm getting better.
And this year you released a new album, Forever Neverland. So what is this Neverland about?
I think it was a title. I came up with the title 2 years ago. I've been working on this album for 4.5 years, basically. And I think it was sort of just relating to how I was feeling at that moment. I felt like I was like a little bit in this kind of bubble. I was constantly just, touring or traveling or writing music. And like, it was so far removed from the life that I came from, and I was living my dream. It was a dream coming true, but at the same time, it was this weird feeling of also feeling strangely isolated. Yeah. And I think that was that thing, obviously Neverland refers to Peter Pan and this whole thing about making up your own kind of fantasy world where everything is great, but actually, what is happiness, So I think that was the title was sort of like a comment to that.
Is there something you feel nowadays you need to escape, like at least for a little bit?
No, for sure. I think I feel like the world politics right now at the moment is kind of very tricky and disturbing on many levels, and I think a lot of people can feel the urge of like just escaping the news because it's like, oh my god, no. But I don't think the cure is to escape it. I think you actually need to be updated and be politically aware and take action in it, and don't be scared of the brutal facts, and try and engage with it, and what can we do, So maybe 2 years ago I would have said, oh yeah, escapism, we're all like kind trying to run away from the horrible facts, but actually what we should do is face them. So I changed my mind.
That's very wise. And on this album, is there a song maybe that stands out for you that you kind of feel is a bit more special than others for some background story reason?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously on an album, all the songs is always your baby. You know, so it's like, oh, I care for them. But I think one of my favorite songs is probably the song called Blur. Because it's a very, I like the sound of it because it has a mix of like a grunge vibe, and it has like a more like EDM kind of sounding drop, but mixed with this grunge guitar, and then very melodic and emotional kind of melodies and lyrics. And lyrically, it's about this feeling of feeling a bit stuck and overwhelmed by everything, which was really how I felt at the moment when I wrote it. So, it just feels good to me.
I gotta say, I really love your videos for the songs as well, because they complement the songs wonderfully. And how do you usually come up with ideas for videos? Is it something you tell the idea to the producers and they basically come up with everything, or you kind of want to be there frame by frame how this visual a part of your song is created?
Yeah, it varies a lot from song to song. Because with some of the songs, for instance, some of the kind of the videos we put out ahead of this album, Forever Neverland, I was like co-directing, where it was like basically my ideas that we then, I had a director come and kind of like make that happen, But for other projects, it's like me coming with a brainstorm of what I'm thinking and like imagery and ideas, and then a director will take that and they will develop on it. So it really varies. But I think I always really, obviously as an artist, you want to be involved. You want to get your hands dirty,
And we have noticed that in live shows, the energy on stage, it's massive. It's like, sometimes it's like, wow, you are overwhelmed with it, taken by it. Like, what is the source for that? Where did you get the inspiration to just go wild on stage?
Honestly, I think it's just all my nervous energy exploding on stage, because it's so nerve-wracking to put yourself out there so much, and it's an amazing feeling because it's such a rush. Like, I feel so free when I'm on stage, but I'm also terrified at the same time. So I think it is just actually, as I said, this explosion of nervous energy and emotion that kind of just like, yeah.
It's an emotional release in a way.
It is, yeah.
When you're on stage, do you feel like you need to see the eyes of the audience? What is that thing that catches your eye, that okay, they're with me?
Yeah, I think it's very much, especially because sometimes in some songs I can, be very like just kind of like whoa, like get into my own kind of like But then I always like after like I need to have that, like I should say, like the eye contact, like find a couple of people and just sing into their eyes, and just to get that feeling, a sense of like we're all the same and we're all here and we are together in this, because there would be no show without the audience. Obviously, it's just like then it doesn't matter. So it can only really happen because of all of us, and therefore it's so important to get that connection. Yeah.
And how important is for you the like day-to-day communication with your audience, with your fans? Like, is it important for you to know that how they feel about your songs? What does it do to them?
Yeah, very much. I mean, especially when I was to put out this new album, I was obviously like the thing that I thought the most about was just like, I wonder what the fans are gonna think, because obviously the fans I view as like friends that you have not really met for real, because if they like your stuff, it's because they like you as a person. That's how I see it a little bit, because you connect over a mutual feelings. So obviously it's like, ooh, it's like the same. I hope my friends like me, you know. I hope that they understand why I did this, you know. I hope they will engage with it. So it does mean a lot to me. And also on a basic, like now being on tour, you know, every night I'll check like and see what people that posted or written anything about anything, and like try and interact with that. But I also take some breaks sometimes and just, you know, again, mindfulness, just get away from the whole second reality that we all live in nowadays.
Do you like to kind of interact with your fans, like chat with them, like reply tweets, like comment on pictures? Like, do you have this kind of, I need to communicate with them?
Yeah, I love to do that. It's always like, of course, like it sometimes gets a little bit chaotic on all the comments. So sometimes it's hard to have like a proper conversation. But I love just giving little ding ding, you know, that's nice.
That is nice.
I love that. And I love that the internet provides that opportunity, you know.
To be closer to people.
That's really cool. Yeah.
If you could change only one thing in the world, if you had that power, what would it be?
Oh, this is so funny, because the other day I was thinking about this, and I came up with something else, like that would be the thing that I would change. But I don't remember it right now, which is terrible. But I think the thing I would change, but it's getting a little complicated maybe, is I would change how people seem to get afraid of each other when things are bad, and instead of thinking singular, thinking unity, you know, like if that makes sense. Because I feel like always, like in hard times, politicians will use fear and say it's their fault, it's the other, and you know, and that just makes everything worse. So it wasn't what I thought about, though. I think I had an even better thing that I would change, but this is one of the things.